Hello everyone, this is Wolfie Rich again, back with Total Extreme Wrestling, Let's Book. This is still going to be our introduction series. I'm going to make a couple of playlists, so I'm going to make one playlist with the company that I'm making now, just to explain how the game works, so you can watch that first, and then you can take a little bit of breather, and then I'm going to start another playlist where we're actually going to be doing it for real, and I'll be taking, suggestions and everything like that. So what I forgot to do is tell you about the databases. I think I told you sort of about the databases, but this is basically where you load games. You can change your databases. You can, as you can see, I've got a couple of different databases there. I've got 1983, 1985, blah blah blah. But we're using the 70s one, so we want to stay on that. And our game is test game with Jack Dale. Still January 1970. Right, okay, in the last video we explained pretty much everything up here, back there on the internet screen. Now we get to the meat and potatoes thing, so I'm probably going to have to make a couple of videos on this because it's quite a complicated different thing. So first we'll start with the creative. This is basically, this blue bit down the bottom is our company. Everything up here is the outside world. Okay, so our company is, think of this like our filing cabinet or our computer. So creative, that's everything to do with people we hired, the wrestlers we've got, the teams, titles, any storylines. We can have a creative meeting, blah blah blah, but I'll go through that in a minute. So go to our roster first, and it's basically exactly the same as what I showed you before, where I had a list of everybody that was working in this database, but this is just the people that are working in our company so far. And this includes both wrestlers, it includes announcers, road agents, and referees. So you've got to be careful. It looks like we've got quite a few people at the moment, but a lot of these people are actually non-wrestlers. They're people who do commentating or refereeing or what have you. So it's basically it works exactly the same. If people do tend to make relationships with other people on your roster, you can use this, and it's he's got a strong friendship with Les Kellett, who's not on our roster yet, but it would help us if we wanted to hire Les Kellett, that we've got Adrian Street here. But we'll go down here, go to a roster review. That's basically everybody we've got, how old they are, the sex. Obviously it's the 70s, so I haven't got any females, but don't blame me for that. What kind of contract we've got, and as you notice, everybody's on a paper appearance. I'm the only one on the written contract, and I'm not even making anything from it, which is a bit rubbish, but that's how much it's for. It expires in such and such a day. That's their disposition, face and heel. I believe I told you in a different video what those mean. Basically a face, good guy, heel, bad guy. The position on the roster, so a main eventer, upper mid-carder, mid-carder, lower mid-carder, opener, enhancement talent, I'll tell you about that in a bit, announcer, referee, road agent, blah blah blah. We've got one person who's not been assigned a position yet, so we'll have a look at that in a second. Right, momentum is basically how they're doing with regards to crowd reaction. If they got a decent momentum, like as you can see, it's pretty much all the same. But Les Martin, I can't remember who that is. I'll have a look and say. But it's all basically like exam scores. So the better people are responding to your talent, then the more momentum they're going to have. So I'll get rid of that. Contract overview, that's basically the same thing. Ideal roster, I don't tend to use that because it's basically the game saying the size of your company needs this many wrestlers, but we can use as many, or because everybody's on a paper appearance, we can use as many as we want, just once. If we wanted just to hire somebody for one night, we could do that. An auto push is like I said, their position on the roster. So if you want the computer to work out where they should be based on their talents, based on their popularity, you can do that, but we'll leave that to our judgment at the moment. View profile has just a bit more detail on whoever you've got highlighted, so you can negotiate your contracts. You see his skills, personal, chemistry, characters, title history, employment history, blah blah blah. It's not really going to apply to us in this because we're just same with that. Negotiate. You can negotiate a written deal with Adrian Street if we want to do, but we don't really want that yet because we don't know how much we're going to use him. Managing, that just basically just tells you if he's managing anybody at the moment, which is basically for a manager that you've hired, but obviously he's a wrestler. So, and if we had a developmental territory is like it's a camp, a training camp, or a smaller company that you own. And if you hired a rookie, you could send them down to developmental, and you wouldn't have to worry about them until a couple of years later when somebody would say, this person has moved on such and such in their skills, in their talents, blah blah blah. Would you like to use them? So it's a bit like The Ultimate Fighter. If you watch mixed martial arts, it's a bit like that, but not really. Jesus, already 6 minutes in now. I haven't even got to titles yet. Titles. That's our titles and who has them. We've got a British heavyweight title. Nobody's got it. That's the title history of it. I don't really know much about this, but a View Sport trophy. I don't know what that is. That's a trophy. You can have a trophy that you can have an annual tournament in which people could win this trophy, and it'd have just as much prestige as a belt. And so we could add a title, we could modify a title, we could retire a title, which means if we don't want to use a title anymore, say you've got a title that nobody's held for a long time, nobody really wants to see, you can just retire it, replace it with something else. Vacate the title is it's not stripping somebody of the title. You can strip somebody of the title if, say, our champion got caught with a load of performance enhancing drugs, or he got put in prison or something, or anything like that would happen. We'd strip him with the title, whereas we could vacate the title if he was injured for a long time, so we couldn't use him. So say somebody broke their leg and they'd be out for 6 months, we could vacate the title, give it to somebody else, and then as soon as they come back they can have a match to earn it back. Okay, we've got a creative meeting as well. This is basically what would it be like if you called a meeting here at Dale Martin. So we've got franchise players. These are the people pay to see. So we've got Jackie Paolo, we've got Mick McManus, Linda Calder, blah blah blah. Now the next big things, we're not going to get many of them because we've got a small roster. That's basically saying, what do they think? Who do they think could be the person to be the next champion that people would pay for next? That's hot prospects from around the wrestling world. They may or may not be employed. People who are good on the stick, which is the microphone. Showstoppers, they're people you can ask, that you could say, this is a big event for me, can you give it 110%, and they will. And they've been proven to. Ring general, that's basically you could put them with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and they could still have a good match because they can carry it. Who's hot in the company? Who's not in the company? And we've got way too many of them. People on time decline, they're getting older, so they're not going to have many years or much left in them because they're just not going to be able to go as much as they could before. So this is not a very good sign for us because Jackie Paolo and Mick McManus are our big draws, and Jackie Paolo and Mick McManus are both getting on a bit, so we're going to have to start making new stars.